Sorry, I didn't mean it.
I always say the thing you're not supposed to say in front of the person you're not supposed to say it in front of.
Yeah, done that a couple of times. Well, anyway, on that interesting note, welcome to season 6, episode 2 of the Operation Grow Show. I hope everybody is doing well, and we've made it into almost the second Saturday of the new year.
That's right, we made it.
So far, so good. The jury's still out there. Anything could happen. If you're in chat, don't forget to switch to live chat. So how's everybody doing? GMF, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I can't complain. Feet are above ground. Thankfully, nobody in my immediate circle has COVID at the moment. Everyone's trying to stay healthy, get boosters. So I can't complain, buddy. I really can't. Happy to be here with y'all.
And also with us at the moment is Chris. How you doing, buddy?
Cheers, Pete. Yeah, I wish I could be as COVID-free as GMF over there, but we're in hunker-down mode here. I'm the only one that doesn't have it. So everybody's
Oh, dear.
in their own bedrooms. Fun.
Hey, what are you doing? You're just coming out of the evening step, draw the line for us. Nah, sorry, mate. You're going to stay in your room still. Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
Right.
I haven't quite finished these levels on the Xbox, whatever game, just yet. So when I tire, you'll miraculously heal. So I hope everyone's doing good. Well, sounds like everyone's doing fine. Apart from those around you, Chris, but otherwise good. This week, what we're going to sort of get into, I'm sort of open for some ideas. I was looking at something. Well, we've been talking about doing this cuttings, everybody growing the same cut, and then comparing the results at the end. And I think that's a good crossover between what we're doing and with the neighborhood grows. So I think that is going to be going ahead, I believe, over the next, probably we'll do it fairly soon, if I'm not mistaken. We'll get that going. And that should be interesting. It should be able to allow us to answer a few interesting questions. How much does change in environment actually make to the end result? Should get some answers on a postcard beforehand, see how close people get to certain things. I saw, well, here's a question then, like environmentally speaking, HPS or LED lights, which produces higher THC levels? I should put that as a poll in the chat.
I would have always thought it would be a high intensity discharge like a metal halide because it actually does contain UV spectrum. That's what I've always heard actually will produce,
this is LED versus HPS. Let's be quite specific about HPS, which is probably one of the more commonly used, 1,000-watt HPS, double-ended, etc. So what do you reckon? What's the vote on here? Anyway, there is a different, HPS is very specifically high pressure sodium. So,
yeah, I'm with GMF with the UVB spectrum giving you that extra, trichome production.
I've never actually used an HPS. I started out with metal halides, and then I tried to transition to LEDs. I was an early adopter, though. I had a blurple.
Yeah. No, the reason why I asked is I actually was watching, it came up on that Arapta DeBarco University potency of cannabis grown under LED and HPS lights. And, I think fairly specifically HPS being the one that was mentioned. And I mean, I will post a link to the actual video in a
Yeah, when you
bit.
get into
But
bulbs, you get into all kinds of funkiness. Each bulb is distinctly different and needs to be run at the right wattage, needs to be run on the right. Basically, they can run, the spectrum can run really rampant on HPS bulbs. And right now, there's a new wave of HPS bulbs. So, like the ones that I may have used or somebody else, I never really used HPS bulbs for myself, but what you were used to is not the same anymore. There's new leaders in HPS bulbs that are making them in the right spectrums, but each one is different. So even if you say HPS could be run the gamut. A lot of them don't even have UVB. So there's like maybe, or there used to be. I can't speak about now, but there used to be only 2 manufacturers that made an HPS that even had any UVB in it. I'm not sure where that stands now, but so
yeah,
Spectrum.
yeah. I mean, and in the video, they're quite specific about which HPS
Well, they give you the brand
bulb.
bulb.
Yep. And they also tell you exactly which LED rig they ended up going with. So it's all, very much there. And I
Nice.
think it's interesting to see it's at this 12 votes and it's at 50-50.
Well, let's say that for the sake of this example of this discussion, that LED produces less, like compounds that we're looking for. Terpene expression, whatever, more yield. Because I'm using less electricity, I can use the same amount of electricity in the next run and make even more of a yield, get even more out of it. And I'm not spending money on cooling everything down.
Yeah. But yeah, this is specifically about, does LED LED versus HPS, which produces a higher potency in cannabis. So does growing naturally under LED. And what's interesting, it seems as though that yes, LED does actually have a positive correlation on increase in THC potency, but at the same time, it can also that same can be achieved with HPS as well. You can do it because it's not just the lighting, it's a combination of the environmental variables that go with it as well and everything else. So yes, you can do, but it seems that it may be easier or just by it's just with under an LED because it's maybe cheating a little bit in terms of giving that extra ability. But yeah, there is a noticeable there is a difference, and I'll put up there, everybody can watch it and have a look.
Yeah, he put up more than just that video too. So if anyone needs some content to go through, besides looking at Operation Grow, if you're already caught up, catch up with Tobacco University. It's pretty good information. I need to catch up myself. I've been telling myself that for the last couple of days since he's put up like at least 5 videos, probably more. I think I got a whole bunch of notifications where I was like, oh, well, dang, I need to look through them all.
Yes, and I'll say that
excellent source
is brought to you by Dos Hombres. Butcher that. Nice mezcal. If anybody can get hold of it, I can recommend it. But there we go. Yeah.
Dos Hombres, isn't that the brand owned by Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm enjoying it. That's pretty good.
I guess I saw everybody else making celebrity liquor and making money. Got to get in on it.
Well, if it saves a little distillery in Mexico from going under, I'm all for it. Why not? That's what they should do. They should do pairing tours through Mexico. Because is it legal recreationally in Mexico now? Cannabis? How far did that get pushed through in the courts there? Did it go the whole way through?
It is legal to possess. As far as I know, the law, as it's written now, it's legal to possess. They don't have the legal functional law to be able to sell it. You know what I mean? So they haven't. But right now, yes, you can legally possess it there.
Yeah, because I watched some tours through tequila And they do it on these barrel things, and you thought, oh, that's not my thing whatsoever. I'd rather walk around and do it. But if you had that where, yeah, we need to drive you around because you're going to be, pair it with good tequilas and good weed, and then drive you around. Yeah, that'd be a bit different.
Anything's legal in Mexico for the right amount of money. I mean, literally, it's so bad. You can get away with murder. I mean, seriously, it's pathetic.
Oh dear.
How many grenades would you like paired with your tequila?
Right.
Oh, 6 is good.
Oh dear. Yeah, so I think that'll be very interesting. And I know that the particular cut that we were thinking of has already been tested. So then that would make it really interesting. We can now, and I think that would be the objective here, is that it does actually have to be, we do need to everybody get it tested at the end. So we have some empirical results to work with.
Which is funny
which case,
because
the same
Right.
testing facility too, if we can.
Yeah.
Would be nice just to
Yeah, if possible.
keep it consistent.
now I had a weird thought about that. Because that's, I mean, when I did it, it's not cheap, first of all, to get it done, but like you said, to have it consistent, right? Because I checked on what the different certifications are lab to lab, and they can be even certified the same, but everyone's got their own little differences in procedure, because it's not like a beer assayer's test where they have a standard system they're supposed to use to calculate it. It can vary from lab to lab. So I saw a company called Plant Tech out of Canada is actually got an at-home test. Now, it doesn't do terpenes, it just does base cannabinoids of THC and CBD. The one nice thing is, even if it's not the world's most accurate test or whatever, it would be the same for all of us. We'd all be on a level playing field as far as testing it. So that's an option, is to look at some of these newer at-home kits, and they're reagent kits is what they are. So you have to take a sample, put it in a vial, mix it with a liquid. It'll come out a particular color. And they've got 3 different systems, one for total cannabinoids and one that'll let you distinguish between CBD and THC.
So, yeah, that's more qualitative than quantitative data.
Well, it's got, according to, it's kind of like a pH scale, depending on how dark the color is, should tell you an approximate percentage. So it sends you a color scale and everything with it. I have to show it to you, but I just literally ran across it yesterday.
Like litmus paper.
Yeah, exactly. It works just like a litmus paper, basically, same idea. So it gives you a level of comparison, and it would at least give us a chance to have it even across the board.
No, I mean, I think if we can actually figure out a way of getting it, let's hunt around and see what we can figure out. Are there any, I mean, what about universities, labs, anything that we could do? What we need to do is find somebody like, we need to speak to that, like Anna Schwab, whatever her name was, in terms of like, hey, would you be interested in, look, this is the same cut grown in all these different environments. We can give you the environmental data that went with it. What we're interested in is we want the results of the lab results back on this, but you can keep the data, we'll supply it with all the environmental data to go with it. So, give to get kind of thing. That way we can accumulate some information. That might be one approach. Because in this sort of field, then, that becomes one of these things that is interesting, how different, from an academic's perspective, I guess, it gets interesting, how much does it differ from place to place, grown in different environments, and to be able to prove it, that this is the same cut. And then we could potentially have a challenge to see, like, okay, who can bump it up the most? Who can, everybody grows it, everybody comes back with their baseline and go, okay, now let's see, how do we tweak this? What course of action has the most direct impact on it?
So, I mean, you could go 2 ways. You could either go, everybody uses the same soil and prescribe the same, can feed them the same exact way, and then we can get real consistent in that way. Or does everybody feed the way they usually do and use their own soil? You know,
I'm all up for everybody just grows it the way they grow. To just show, well, the null hypothesis being that it's all down to genetics and it's got nothing to do with the environment and
Yep.
conditions. Okay. And now, so let's disprove the null hypothesis and come up with, based on the fact that if it does all come back the same, you go, well, okay, that proves it. It's got nothing.
there are so
to
many
do-
variables. Even if
it's
we do
got-
have the same soil, it may not be exactly the same.
Mm,
It's so hard to really nail down.
Oh, dude, I took 2 plants side by side, same cut. I used Detroit Nutrient Company's water only. In fact, I was working on writing the post for it just now before we started. I took Detroit Nutrient Company's water only, and I put it next to my house mix water only, and I let them run side by side. They came out very, very similar, except the color of the plant was different. One was much greener, one had lighter shades to it. Like, that was the big difference. It caused a noticeable morphology difference, being in a different soil. They had some noticeable difference in morphology and a noticeable difference in coloration. But they started as the exact same cut, the exact same plant.
And I'll tell you what, if there's people in chat who are in the US who may be interested, who would like to take part in this, that, we could maybe think about that. I mean, the more people involved, the better, actually, in terms of it would certainly add more weight to us being able to get an academic to do it for us. Because we can turn up and go, hey, we've done this in 50 locations. Here you go. Here's all of the data that goes with it, and we're interested.
And if you talk to an academic, you have to make sure you tell them, yes, we're sampling hemp plants.
Yeah,
in the United States, you definitely can't. Yeah, it's got to be termed right, or they can't touch it.
Well, that's why I was thinking you speak to, that and see what can be worked out through them. Need to figure this one out. A challenge.
Well, worst case scenario, like I said, we could always try to maybe default to an at-home testing system if it's something that would be consistent. Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Or we could do both and then compare them maybe and get, the difference between this is what the at-home test said and this is what the lab test said.
That would be interesting to have the empirical along, have that quantitative next to the qualitative data.
Maybe we should contact Plant Tech and see if they want to be part of it, because I'm sure they can send the tests from Canada to the United States. It's not like it's any kind of material that's iffy.
Yeah, you're not sending stuff to them, so that's fine.
Yeah, so maybe we should try to compare that. I don't know. I thought it was interesting because yesterday was the first time I'd really seen it, and I thought it was a really good concept, kind of waiting for it to come along. There's all people try to build electronic devices and whatnot, but those have a much higher initial cost, whereas this, it's only usable the one time, but it's a very low cost. So for this kind of experiment, it actually could be quite appropriate.
Yeah.
And it's a third party doing the reagents and everything like that. So none of us can be accused of having a hand in it or whatever. It's very neutral in that way. I've kind of just been waiting for those things to come along though. Like in making beer, just because I make beer, I've got multiple litmus papers here in my house. I've got one that's wide range. I've got one that just does between 6 and 8, so it's very specific color wise. It's kind of neat the level of things that are available just to the average beer hobbyist when it comes to being able to assay our stuff at home. Hygrometers, things like that. It's really, I think it can't be long until we have the same things for our hobby, at least at a more reasonable price. So thank you.
I wonder if anybody's going to say no. How to get 100% votes on the poll. Yeah, and that adds into that whole big data set and yet we build it up. It's got me excited. I'm sure we can definitely do something. So yeah, if you can figure out how to reach out to those guys, that would be great.
These guys are better than testers. Most of the guys in chat we've known forever. So, but that's the one thing is always when you send out seeds to people, like I mean, what does Rouse and Jeff says? Like, what? Maybe a third of the people actually give him any feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I send out a lot of seeds and I hear a lot of promises, but
Well, see, that would be the other thing, when you start to send out cuts. But I think it would be good to get together. I mean, maybe that's where we could do something with the neighborhood growth Discord channel. We could set up something there and run it through that.
Yeah, people put their updates there, their pictures, their comments, and this way, you know, we don't really have, we're still dealing with a third party, but it's way more private and less likely to be flagged for something and be taken down. So there is that just consistency of keeping everything together and
Yeah, and we can
not
put
having
up
anything taken away.
what the entry requirements for taking part are as well, because if we want to do this and actually get people to sponsor it properly and get some stuff done for free, we better be able to produce
you got to either come to
reasonable
the after
information.
show or participate in Discord.
Well, yeah, or it's definitely going to have to be a case we need to be able to record the right information and make sure it's being taken down, and regular updates, etc. And it takes a bit of due diligence on that front. Whatever automated environmental logging system you've got, use it. I'm trying to figure out a way actually of putting together a grow log system that this could be used for, and then people can upload their own data, or if you happen to have a Minder unit, you can connect it up and it'll just.
If you don't, and there's like 2 or 3 people or 4 people out there that want a Minder unit, if you all get together, Pete can send it all in one package with the cuts and make it a little bit easier. Like,
we can make a plan.
Save money on shipping.
Well, the cuts will not be coming from this neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be absolutely clear. Just the Minder units if they do go. But yeah, anything. It's just that that's what people are going to want. They're going to want to know when they were fed, what they were fed, etc. All that kind of information. It's kind of will be on the geeky end of it all.
Well, hopefully we have someone who's familiar with doing data collection and data science who can sort through all that crap.
I know someone. One or two.
Gotta be someone.
I have a word. But
That
that's
ain't gonna do
a
it.
7-hour day. Anybody know me, Stephen? No, cool. Okay, well, there's definitely a fair amount of interest in being able to take part, so that's good. I suspected there would be. Didn't think it'd be one where everybody go, no, fuck that.
Pete loses me when he starts to talk about different levels of infinity.
Yeah,
there's infinity, and then there's
everywhere.
infinity.
Triple mega infinity.
Oh.
Yeah, the great thing is, what was it? There are more numbers between numbers than there are numbers. So you can actually start at 1 and never reach 2. There are an infinite number of numbers between 1 and 2.
Because every number exists between 1 and 2.
Yeah, starting at 1.1, and off we go.
Wow, starting at 1.0 billion zeros 1, and 1 point
You
billion
just keep
zeros.
adding one odds to the end, and off we go. Yeah, it's hilarious. And then there was some mad thing that then proved that no, hang on, actually, there's even bigger ones. It gets crazy. Who thought that there were infinities of different sizes? You think they're all the same, but no, they're not. I think a bobcat miner. Thinking. Yeah. So otherwise, how's everybody else's growth going? I'm sure dear old Shruti sent me a picture actually. He was going to jump in, so he will do. This is his shed.
Yeah, Shrubi got into some goodies last night.
Everything is hemp and veg, right?
Yeah. Yes, it
Well,
is.
yeah, and that's the important thing, though. It's, for us in the United States to move anything around, it's got to be labeled as such. You've got to have a citation of the Department of Agriculture Act saying that it's hemp, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So this is from his breeding project. Getting onto the
Helium. What the
F2.
hell are you using helium for?
No idea.
Interesting.
We'll ask him when he turns up.
Elaborate, Magma.
I believe he's talking about crypto mining.
Oh, God. Oh, right. Okay. He's nerding out on the math, too. Right on.
Yeah.
That not share. I was actually showing. I don't know. Zoom seems to be playing doing a bit weird. Interesting.
Yeah, it was showing, you were just showing the chat.
Weird. Oh well, that Zoom being strange. Zoom not showing its own, allowing you to share its own chat. Like, what the fuck? Oh well, sorry about that then. That didn't make any sense to people who were watching. Fair enough.
Nope. That didn't make sense to me, and I'm here.
Cool.
I'm
Barely made
sitting right
sense
here,
to
and I
me.
am totally lost.
I can highly recommend. It's making less sense. Yeah.
Well,
Did you
know,
get
Bryan
that for your
Cranston.
birthday?
Yeah. My daughter got it for me for Christmas, actually. Yeah.
Nice.
The oldest
How
one.
much you got left?
Of this one. Of this one.
Now you're trying to throw him under the bus.
Still a fair amount, yeah.
Oh, that's not
I'd say
bad. That's
trying
the
to-
good stuff, though.
Trying to, yeah, get.
You've only got like 16 bottles of tequila.
And this is one of the only 2 bottles of mezcal. So I'm just trying to actually get used to the mezcal.
Well, and just so everybody knows, all tequilas are mezcals, but not all mezcals are tequilas. It is a lot like whiskey and bourbon.
Yeah. Tequila is specifically blue
Blue
agave,
agave
but it's a specific blue agave as well.
Right.
It's not
And
just
it's from
blue
Jalisco,
bell
I believe.
agave.
It has to be from Jalisco.
There are 5 states in which you can produce tequila,
Oh, neat.
all within the Jalisco region, and around the town specifically of Tequila.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
geography
who wants
lesson.
to meet up? Who wants to meet up there? It looks really nice.
So does that mean there is no Sinaloan tequila there, Raptor?
I haven't really looked into what would be around there, but I mean, it
More fungus.
is good farmland,
Yeah,
so I don't see it past them.
because that's like
I mean,
Guadalajara. That's north of where your descendants come from, right? That's, I think, north.
Yeah. Sinaloa and Chihuahua. So yeah, I get all the fun, super desert areas, and then like really rich for agriculture as well. But it's been turning more into like housing over the last like couple decades. Is money has been getting in there a little more.
Especially coastal, I'm sure, right?
And as far as I know, the local beverage you'll find, like, because I mean, mezcal and tequila are a little fancier. What you'll find people making at home is something called racia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but racia, I think, it's a lot. It can have a lot of different things in it. So it can have fruits added to it. It can have all kinds of different stuff added to it. So it's a little more homemade that way. And that's very common in a lot of different places.
Well, the technical difference also then that's part of the difference between tequila and mezcal is that not only is mezcal can be made from a number of different cacti that go into a succulent. And that's the thing is the blue agave is not a cactus; it's a succulent, but it's not a cactus. And they take forever to grow. I mean, like you're talking up to 15 to 25 years before they can be harvested. So it's a really slow going process. That's a bit of foresight that you have to put into
And
what you
then,
want
I
to
just
do.
shot back in an
Yeah.
agave.
and then there's
Mm,
different
mm.
cooking methods for the agave itself and fermenting methods. Some use still ground kits where they'll actually cook it in the ground. Some will use literally more of a water. They'll actually get it wet and steam it. So each one, I think that does supposedly transfer a lot into the flavor profile, how they cook the cactus itself, the pina.
Mm. And then it,
the-
and
yeah.
yeah, so that's sorry, I went on like a real deep dive on this the other day on YouTube. But there is the interesting difference why, for instance, mezcal has an earthier flavor to it than tequila does is because of how mezcal is cooked. Mezcal traditionally is cooked in the ground, whereas the Pinot for tequila isn't necessarily cooked in the ground. It's done in ovens and steamed in big ovens, but not, like the modern places will use autoclaves because they can speed the process up.
Well,
And
one other nifty
that's
little
what you
tidbit
really
I've-
want to look for is small batch tequila houses that are not doing it with autoclaves or diffusers is the other one, and that's chemical extraction, which is not what you want, because then they can add in additives. 1% is allowed to be an additive within tequila. So hey,
Magic
Shruti.
spice.
What up, Shrub?
Cheers, Tyler.
I know the traditional stills were made using clay, and if people take the time and effort to still make a clay still and use it, that parts a very different profile than modern copper stills or even stainless steel stills. Using
Yeah,
an
because
old
you have a
school
mineral composition to it, right?
dude, yeah, a clay still. I can't imagine how skilled you have to be to build it and use it and run on it. It's crazy. That's whoop.
Cheers, guys.
How much snow you got, and what's the temperature?
Right now, -20, and not much snow. Just a dusting.
-20. That's
It's cold
Fahrenheit.
though. It's cold.
Or is
No,
that-
it's Celsius.
Celsius. So, yeah, that's like 0.
Your ball's stuck inside you.
I
Stay
remember
up there
that when
till
I was
spring or what?
Pardon?
They stay up till spring.
No, they come
They
down
come
every
back?
now and then. Kind of like Groundhog's Day.
I remember that when I was on a business trip to Toronto, East Coast. Yeah. And
East Central.
standing outside in the morning, it was like -21, sunny, but there was no wind. So I was standing outside and it was okay. I mean, I had just a long sleeve shirt on. I was having a cigarette and a car drove past. And the draft caused by the car, I'm like,
North Hair's
it's
freezing.
like, Jesus, that was insane. And all the locals are going, oh, yeah, no, it's warming up. Like, you what now?
It's different. It's different. You get used to it.
It's a braver man than me for living in that climate.
It's not by choice. I'd rather be south.
Yeah, I actually chose to move to Staten Island. Anyway, how's your yeah? Sorry, hang on. Let me try and actually share again because I don't think it worked first.
No, it
time.
didn't. I was
So,
watching. Your desktop came up. There it is.
There we go. Oh, lucky there wasn't something on the desktop that shouldn't be.
Gotta download it first.
Yeah. Yep. So what are we looking at here then, Tyler?
The 5 on the left are the 8K39 across the Storm Shadow, and the 5 on the right are the Storm Shadows to Storm Shadows. They were all just top probably 12 hours before that photo was taken and just fully fed before that photo. So the leaves are wet.
Pretty.
And are these on? So are these the F1 cross? These are the F1 generation. Yeah.
F1 generation, yes.
Excellent. Ah.
And then behind that wall is my other run going on right now, the 12 plants of Genetics, all new strains.
Nice. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, those
Awesome.
get transplanted tonight. Gonna flower them out in 1 gallons.
Yeah, I grow a lot of chilies in 1 gallon. The advantage with hydro there. Have to stick the O in. Why not? Why not? Yeah. Well,
That reminds me, I meant to send you an article that I just read. The Rev dropped last Monday about how to do basically just a really simple bottle regiment of just a 2-part bottle regiment of Fox Farm, Big Bloom, and Alaska. And he showed how to mix it out. It was really interesting because he showed basically how to do a liquid. If you had to go from bottles, how you could go really inexpensively from bottles that weren't filled with artificial chelation, at least. So it was pretty interesting.
Okay.
Basically, all he does is starts with one pitcher that's fairly concentrated and bubble that, and then start with water that's highly concentrated or that's just bubbled, and then you just ratio them out, and that's it. And you just keep using this higher ppm base to mix your water to a particular, and that's it. And if you've got ppm meters, that's all you need.
Okay.
It's a pretty interesting article. I meant to send it to you. Yeah, most
Please
people
do.
can get Fox Farm Big Bloom. Most people can get, Alaska Fish Fertilizer, the 511, just a
Yep.
liquid. So, he just showed a simple regimen for using those two things alone as a standalone liquid base.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And that Big Bloom is nitrate free?
Well, the Big Bloom, again, they make a lot of different products, so not the Tiger Bloom or any of that, but apparently the Big Bloom is it's not nitrate free, it's just bat guano and worm castings. So it's a liquid bat guano worm casting, and that's it. And I'm pretty sure it's the higher P bat guano, not the high end bat guano. So your N is going to be your Alaska, your P and your K are going to be the Big Bloom, and that's it. And a pinch of lime. I think he's using, a pinch of powdered limestone, and that's it. So,
now
yeah,
the question
I'm
is,
gonna try
Yeah.
it just for fun. I've never done it before, but man, it looks like a great idea. I don't have any
Yeah, yeah.
reason to, but shit, sounds like a fun experiment.
now the poll that I put up there in chat, I'm interested to see what the answer to this is, because like over here in Europe and that, it gets rolled with tobacco quite regularly. And what gets called, joint spliff, doob, in
You don't
different
put
parts of the
tobacco in
world.
your joint.
Here we call it ruins.
You just don't do it. It's
Yeah.
called ruining it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a European thing.
There is no word for it here.
All three of those are fully cannabis. There's no
Yeah.
tobacco in any of those three, as
But
far as
not-
I'm concerned.
I've heard the tobacco one a couple of times referred to as spliff.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
In
the only
American?
one that I've heard where it's
Hmm.
like, okay, all the other stuff I've heard like interchangeably with just cannabis. But I've heard spliff be which, and said, and then it's just all cannabis. So that
And I
one.
think
Yeah, I
the
mean-
one kind of implies that it has tobacco in it. So
Well, now you see, that's what's interesting now, because over here, a blunt implies that it has no tobacco in it.
oh,
A blunt
Just as a
would
tobacco wrapper.
be
Just
no,
the
not
wrap.
even a wrapper. No tobacco. A blunt here would at least. I mean, I could only talk for the people that I'm circles that I'm
blunt's
moving.
taken
A
from
blunt over
Philly's
here
blunt.
means it's got no tobacco in it whatsoever. It's just weed. So that's what I mean. And then a joint may be considered also just be weed, but a spliff has definitely always had tobacco in it. As far as I've always been, it's always been called a spliff when it had tobacco in it. And oddly enough, also in the US, when I've been there, on a few occasions when I've heard it being called that, because yes, I used to be that one, it would be, oh, it's a spliff, it's not a joint, or, it's rolled with tobacco. So yeah, and it is interesting that, spliff is the one that's come up with being polled as the most commonly used term. But yeah, let's say like in the US, a blunt is basically a joint rolled up in cigar wrapper.
Yeah, and a Phillies blunt wrapper specifically. Blunt is one particular thing that Phillies makes, and makes a lot of different cigarillos, things like that. But Phillies made blunts, and that was how it got the name. Was you would take your blunt, buy a Phillies blunt, cut that wrapper out, wipe it, wipe the middle out and re-roll it.
Now it's like backwoods. It's like the leader in cigar leaves.
Yeah, Backseat knows. He actually pulled out this blunt wrap that I would use all the time back in high school, and it's like platinum or something like that, and it has like a slight flavor to it too. They had like cherry and grape, and I mean, so does Backwoods and other places too, or other companies too. But yeah, that's the one I would use just because it was a nice nice moisture rate to the tobacco paper. I could really like get in there and just roll it to the point where it looked like a machine roll. So I had a lot of fun with blunts. I don't go that route. I mean, I had a lot of fun with blunts. That's why I go vaporizing now. But just put it like that. I used to smoke a lot of tobacco. And yeah, I mean, having tobacco with my cannabis, that's just how I fucking, when you wanted to share something, especially around, you had a circle, that was fun, just passing around. Now I don't do any of that shit. I don't fucking want anyone spit. No, thank you. I got my glass. I'm happy. I like being
I
able
just
to
bring
breathe
extra
out
joints for
when I need
everybody.
to. Yeah,
Here,
yeah.
have your own.
I mean, if you're gonna make joints, make them for everyone.
Yeah, I
If
mean, the
you're
thing
really
is over here.
seshing. Pete.
I mean, like over here, in Europe, the reason why I mean, I know in England, certainly while we were students, I mean, the reason why it was always rolled with tobacco is because it was expensive. And so it was more to make it, to stretch it out, to make it last, you rolled it with tobacco. And it was also a huge hash culture. I mean, getting flour while we were, in the early 90s was rare to get. It was always hash. And
Well, you were
how
closer
you,
to Morocco.
the only way we
that's the
smoked
center of
hash
it all.
was you
Well,
rolled
not
it
at
up
all.
into this little, what we call party lines, like little snakes, and then you would just
Oh,
roll it
yeah.
in the middle of the rolling backy and then just smoke it. And you'd have
Perfect,
this. Yeah. I mean, you'd also take it into clubs. Because, yeah, you could smoke in clubs back then, smoke cigarettes. But what you would do is you would cut little slits along the cigarette and then just push bits of hash into the cigarette and then just put a strip of paper all the way up along it again. So you would just make it look like it was sealed up. And then just smoke that in the club, and it looks like you were just smoking a cigarette, and you'd be left alone.
Well, that's the other reason why people mix tobacco was to or blunts here was to disguise the smell and make it more palatable socially or out on the, wherever, for sure. Because it's definitely a lot tougher to, smoke a stinky fucking chronic joint.
It was funny when go.
Okay. No, I was just gonna ask. So, Shwoob, what do they call it in Canada? Because I know you guys always got messed up words for stuff that we don't even have. What do they call it in Canada?
Is it like a moose hoof or something?
Nope, just a split, man. Spliff, joint, blunt. That's pretty much regular terms.
But none of them have an actual distinction for this has tobacco in it.
Beaver butt.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Did you say beaver bud?
There you go.
To me, duck's ass is a joint.
Yeah, no, it's just same lingo.
Yeah, because I've heard of Canadians mixing too, but I also thought Canada started with a stronger hash culture than the United States did. We were always flower smokers. I figured that's why we never used tobacco, because we were always getting brickweed, just shitloads of brickweed. Whereas, I don't know, what did Canada start with, hash or brickweed?
From my understanding, it was more hash. Like my parents' generation, they grew up with the hash and mixing it. That's where it's normal for me. You guys were talking about this. I smoked a mixed joint, tobacco, and cannabis right before the show. So
yeah,
I mean, it's normal.
I'm trying. That's become my one New Year's resolution was to give up tobacco.
The bad
Good job,
resolution.
bud.
And I'm a nicotine addict. Don't get me wrong. I'm all over the vape, but just to give up the tobacco side of things. Yeah, well, see how that goes. But looking at some of the comments in chat, Magma saying and tobacco to make it burn smoother. Like one of the things we would do was in South Africa back in the day, it was rolled just a little bit of tobacco. Yeah, it was to aid it to burn. It was either it could be really dry, it could be a little bit too damp, whatever, and it just helped to have a little bit of tobacco in there just to make it burn a little bit better, I think.
Yep. Agree.
Mm, mm. But it's a different buzz
That's for
when you
sure.
smoke it with tobacco. It kicks in a lot quicker. That's definitely.
It's more mellow though. That's one plus side I find. With just a straight joint, I find it more heavy behind the eyes. If you have it mixed, it's a little more even note.
Mm, mm, mm.
When you say heavy behind the eyes, meaning you can literally feel a higher amount of ocular pressure.
It's essentially.
Okay, interesting. So you're getting a greater amount of dilation. Okay, interesting.
Or blood flow. Or different amount of blood flow.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
I compare it to like
Nicotine's
taking two
more,
cups and
yeah.
put them on your eyes, the glass cups, trying to see.
not- Mhm.
Yeah, that's a different, like, look at yourself in the mirror, like,
Yeah.
there's a difference between, oh, I'm pretty faded, it's like, I'm fucking blunted.
Yeah.
Damn.
Dab 1, Tyler 0.
Having a look at there.
Yeah, the ASA 5775 in chat, or 575. It says in Australia, tobacco mixed with weed is called spin. It's filthy. Never freaking do it. That's a. I've never heard that word.
I mean, it is a very divisive way of smoking it. I must say, I've been at places where I've wandered over and said, "Hey, mate, do you have a spare cigarette for some mix?" And get this, what? Jesus, no, man. Only smoke if it's like, okay, easy. Back in your box, chill. Sounds like you need to smoke a bit more, mate. Each to their own.
Yep.
It's not like I'm coming over asking if I can borrow a needle or something.
So it was typically cigarette tobacco, or you would get specific tobacco? I know that, when my friends would do it
Cigarette
themselves, we would
tobacco.
use cigarette tobacco, yeah, for the sake of convenience.
Yep.
But, I mean,
I found that
we
rolling
could have gotten
tobacco
the
was
rolled one.
always. The problem I found with rolling tobacco is that it was always end up rolling them too tightly, and then you can't because it's wet. It's a damper tobacco. You've got to roll when you're making roadies. You've got to roll them a bit
Different
looser.
consistency almost.
And you're
than
kind
the
of
vape.
certainly rolling them quite tight, and at least that's the advantage with. And it makes a difference. A high grade tobacco does make a difference. I wouldn't rate, and it's only putting small bits in, but yeah, definitely cigarette tobacco. And at uni, we used to roast it off in a pan, and then because you then put a bit of hash in all of that for hitting into a bong, and hit hash and tobacco bongs. That was
Papa's.
good fun.
Hey, I'll just say,
92.
Jamie Ream. He says,
30
I
years
roll
ago.
spliffs, no tobacco, just a big cone in the United States, and that's what I've always heard. When I said I'm rolling a spliff, it meant I was rolling like a 2 paper cone. A spliff was going to be a bigger style, like what we would consider a Jamaican joint, rather than our usual, very straight hog leg.
And then what we'd always Americans would always roll these like little toothpick style joints.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you saw loads of, and what the fuck is that?
Yep.
Pinners.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Pinners, yeah.
That was always weird. Like, what the hell? That can't get you high, surely.
When you're young, it works.
That's middle school and high school shit.
Yeah.
Pinners
Oscar
for a
Blues
buck.
got
Gotta
a
make
really
this
good beer called
$5
Pinners.
last.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
Oh, somebody be selling you a pinner for like, a couple bucks. At least that's the way it was at my high school. Somebody would buy a bag and then they would make a bunch of pinners and they would sell them.
What's that? Cheech and Chong, the game show one. How many How many pencils can you make out of a lid? 4. They were thinking 12, but yep, 4s also worked. The answer was. Um, I've tried smoking the last 5 years.
I'm old enough that like back in high school, they were just called J's. They didn't even bother with the whole word. They would just go with a letter.
Yeah,
Leave it at that.
exactly.
Also,
All
like
the early
less
90s.
inconspicuous. Yeah, you just say a letter. Oh, what does
J
that
as in
mean? But
joint.
also, yeah,
J as in marijuana.
Well, just to think how far the acceptance has come and how short a time in our country is insane. You know, we put a lot on the backs of the AIDS patients of the 80s and stuff, and it made such a huge difference in where we are today. You know, the level of social acceptance now is just nothing I ever thought we'd see in our lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's it. But that movement continues, and it finally gets over that last hurdle. It has to.
Huh.
It
That's what
really
kind of blew my
does.
mind about seeing that article in the Standard or whatever. Like, that's kind of what blew my mind. I'm like, wow, we're still writing that stuff. I sent Pete an article from, is it called the Daily Standard or what's the
Evening Standard or whatever it is.
evening?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was the
yeah.
Evening Standard. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
just,
rag.
just, and it just sounded like literally an article written in the 1950s about, you know, psychosis being caused by strong cannabis. I'm like, really? I don't know.
Like, I mean, did you guys all do that when you were youngsters as well? It's like, how big a joint could you roll? You know, sort of how, I mean, that was the challenge at uni, and like how many. Now, of course,
How much money you got?
over here,
challenge.
the papers are often referred to as skins. And then you would roll a 2 skin, a 3 skin, and then everybody would just skip and goes to 5 skin, which was always the interesting one. It's like, so
The people that did that, though, usually, in my experience back in my day, it was cheap weed. Like if you had good ganja, all that really mattered was that it smelled way better than anybody else's weed. It was all about the fact that you would roll into a fucking bar and everybody in the bar would be like, "What the fuck do you have on you?" Like people would be mortified. That was the measure. I may have only had, or my buddy may have only had a fucking quarter, but you knew that if you smoked some of that, you were going to see God.
I think the only
Versus
time
that monster.
we really, I mean, it was once, oh, it was living in Durban. So, I mean, to be honest, as cheap as chips. You know, my mate was getting it for me. I was paying him next to nothing and getting coffee can full of weed. And you're like, okay, I don't know how to get through this quick enough. So you're just rolling foot long joints because fuck it, you can. I mean, it was literally it's of it. But we rolled this foot long. Mate of mine's right back from England, right back in Durban. We go to this spot called the Lookout, and we're sitting on this wall, and it's a long drop off the wall. But we're sitting up there, myself, no, my girlfriend at the time, 3 of us pass the joint, finish it, pass it over, and then somebody thinks the other person has got it, they don't have it, and you just watch it go. Like, oh well, hey, that's a bit of a waste. Like, fuck, there's a whole coffee can of it back home. But yeah, that would have been a bit sad otherwise.
That's like sneezing when you got a bump lined up. You asshole.
Oh, that was funny, man. Yeah. But those were the days when you could do that shit.
I remember whenever you wanted to do something like that, you could once in a while find rolls of papers. So you wouldn't have anything that was leaved up already. It would be literally a roll, and you could unroll it as long as you wanted.
Yeah. And I had a roller that was a foot long that you would tear that strip off, put it in, and then just pack the whole thing and then just roll it all in one go, and it would just roll a foot long joint.
Yeah, somebody just sent me a couple of those sticks of the honey adhesive to make that kind of stuff. I haven't tried it yet though, but it's pretty cool. So it's just a honey glue. cut
Yeah,
to
they're
your
all-
Speaking of
own.
which, I've actually, one of my favorite things to do was put honey, like a thin outer coating of honey on my blunt. And
Oh, no shit.
that actually worked for
Good
me.
flavor.
It slowed it down a lot, never ran. Uh, yeah, you just reminded me of that, and we were talking blunts. It's
I
crazy.
had a roommate from Minneapolis that taught me that one time in college. He's like, yeah, if you're gonna roll a blunt, seal it with that tiny bead of honey, and it just slows it down quite a bit.
Shit, I definitely gotta try this out then.
It's nice. I like the flavor, but I probably used like an artificial honey, something like that wasn't real. So maybe it works with what I use and it doesn't work with like actual honey, but if it does, try it out.
Oh, it does.
If you're next,
It does.
okay.
Hmm.
Again, I didn't know what real honey was back then, so
Yeah, it's
I can't even
expensive.
say if it was
I
or
think
wasn't.
these sticks were like $28 a piece or something. I'm like, Jesus, who's spending that kind of money on a freaking glue to?
I would
No,
just
no,
buy
it's
some,
good to
I would
smoke it.
just buy some honey, Sprouts. It's like a Whole Foods place by me. They sell those same sticks of honey, but for like
Oh yeah,
25
yeah.
cents. So just fucking get that.
Yeah, we can get like 6 for a buck sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Kids used to love those. Now they're not impressed.
Yeah, I mean,
That's so funny.
geez, we've done it with you. I smoked a joint rolled in newspaper.
Oh.
That's rough. And then
Yeah,
having
we
your
used to
mom,
use a
and then
sanitary
having your
napkin or
mom
whatever.
come up on you 10 minutes later, and you should like, whoa, not sure if it's the ink or the weed, but buzzing.
The plastic.
Jesus, yeah.
I think
So
that's what
far,
always
a
made
lot
of-
Bibles
Bible
popular,
papers
because
are
they have
good.
that, that
Bibles
real
work.
thin rice paper. Where's the
Mhm.
Shwoop?
Yeah, the old Bibles work.
Yeah, yeah.
Tampax, tampon sleeves. They were like straw, only bigger. That's what we used.
so absorbent.
Or you
I've
pack a
smoked out of one
straw.
of those before. Yeah.
Each one comes with an amazing expanding suite.
Exactly.
Shwoop, I gotta ask, since you did smoke a mixed one, like, do you actually put a filter in it, or you just smoke like just straight up like a joint with no filter?
Just a cardboard filter.
He's
Cardboard.
bareback, baby.
No, I filter
I'm
everything.
curious. All right, all right.
When you
Lately, I've
say
been
cardboard
using
filter,
hollowed out
you just mean
stems.
you just mean a roach.
Crutch.
Yeah, just for,
Yeah.
Yeah, that
just
just
one.
gives you something to hold on to.
Yep.
Yeah, Garrett.
It ain't filtering
roach.
shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I might stop a couple like loose leaves or
Yeah,
something.
it'll-
Like,
keep
How else
keep
do you
the
think you come
gunk
up
from
with this
flowing.
kind of?
It's more like smoking. It's not like smoking having a laced, Marlboro. It's more like smoking a Lucky Strike with some weed in it.
So
Exactly.
you just
Clang.
roll up a piece of cardboard for that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all you need to do, right? You don't need to buy those.
A little
I mean,
accordion
it's
thing
not-
and roll it up and done.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's the best thing about the London travel cards and rail cards. Yeah, you'll find everybody they make perfect roach material. They've got like a coating on them, so they stay nice and rigid, and they'll roll up really well.
Around here, a lot of the head
Using
shops
the
have
stem.
like perforated business cards that are like perfectly sized for it. And they use vegetable oil, so you can smoke it. It's just perfect. You walk in, grab 5 business cards, walk out. It's like, thank you.
Yeah, I see. But what? Just smoke a bowl? Yeah, for sure.
well,
That's
Doug
always an option.
was talking to us, and like, I think GMF was there in the neighborhood, about like fruit pulp, like leftover material from like fruit processing, and that's made into like a rolling material. So
Cellulose.
like
Yeah.
that's pretty fucking cool. I think I mean, Bag just mentioned palm leaf. I think somebody mentioned banana leaf. It might have been magma, but you can use more than just I mean, it's just cellulose.
Rose petals, I've seen that being used. Onion skins, that must be a bit weird.
Well,
Yeah,
what I
no,
think really
no.
got us away from rolling stuff though, it was when we went, I think in the United States anyway, because it was largely brickweed from Mexico. And once we started getting into actual weed that we were prouder of, that we actually wanted to enjoy and not cover up the flavor, that's when people went to glassware. That's when people started buying bowls and all these crazy, like actually spending money on glass so they could actually taste what they were smoking, rather than, I think a lot of us, at least I know for me, spent a lot of my young career just handling brickweed, and sometimes it smelled and tasted like the tire it was smuggled in. So you did anything to cover up the
It covered
flavor.
up, yeah. It kind of
That's the thing.
lingered.
Like beasters and brickweed is where you made your profits. People didn't buy the top notch bud because you're not making shit on it. It's costing you so much to get it. Like it was a lot of money even back in the days.
Mhm.
It was such a premium. But you could buy brick or you could buy freaking beasters, which looked like it was good weed, but it was shit. But it looked awesome. Tumbled the fuck out of. But it was, today, maybe $100 an ounce you can get that beaster shit for. But it's just poser bud. Looks good, tastes like shit.
Mhm.
Well,
Hmm.
rolling anything, like whether it's joints or blunts,
Which over to a little bit of Don
yeah,
Julio.
yeah. For me, it was, it required two situations. I was like either outdoors. So I would just wanted to like, oh, well, done with this, then I'm done, you know. If I'm pulled over or some shit, like I don't have anything on me. I smoked it, boom. And just being with people, like I was mentioned before, passing something around. But with glass, definitely on my own or with just like one person. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, a
There's
lot
a
of
name, and that's been
it was
so.
glass.
Yeah, like what papers have people do people use? I mean, what if you do roll? I mean, what do people gravitate towards? Because raw seems to have become quite a dominant player. I mean, it was Rizzler, and I see like Zigzag. I remember Zigzag as a
Zigzag.
paper. But it seems to be like Rizzler and Raw are the dominant ones in that space.
Nowadays,
when I was young,
yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Gmas.
Zigzag.
no, when I was young, it was Randy's, which was the
I was just gonna
paper
say that.
with
It
a
had a
wire
fucking
in it.
wire in it, baby.
Right? Because you definitely wanted that roach, right? So when I was younger and weed was very, very precious and whatnot, that was always, or the better ones, if you could find them, were French Light. But yeah,
And they come
nowadays
with
we
like a
got raw.
built-in roach clip.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
ran out of Randy's.
Love Randy's, man. When I was younger, Randy's, like if you had those,
You still
you were
make 'em?
that was the shit.
Just a zigzag with a piece of wire in it.
Yeah, but that was a ready-made roach clip. It was perfect. It was genius.
Yeah, and that was something else. Like we were always like, roach clips. What's this? What the hell?
You know how many like times you'd get like someone would have weed, but no one would have a paper. But if you had one or two Randy's safely stowed in your wallet as your emergency backup paper, that could save the day, man. And back in the day, that would save the day.
Yeah, that's another question. Since one of those things that definitely changes, I guess, I only speak from observation of others, but when they start growing their own, I mean, how many people smoke to the roach? You suddenly notice, halfway through, who cared?
I knew motherfuckers that took the roaches, Pete. So
It gets stronger as you go down.
different
So
animals.
Yeah.
I
It's
smoke it
decarbed on the
now.
way down.
I've started using a hollowed out piece of stem to roll my joints. So depending on how big I want the gem, the joint is which stem I grab. And I honestly like that because I'll smoke it right down to the very end, and it doesn't ever taste like burning paper or anything like that. And since the stem just kind of naturally puts it out, it doesn't. Yeah, it's weird, but I've really started to like that. And I'll smoke it all the way down to the piece of stem, and it goes right out once it hits the stem.
Yeah.
How many times have you been reusing it? Or are you just using a new
Oh no, I'm reusing it over and over again, depending on the size that I want. So if I want a smaller one, I'll reuse the smaller one. If I want a bigger one, so I've just been kind of playing around carving them with my pocket knife, and it works really well. But yeah, I've just been using the same one over and over again until it gets really nasty.
Into the
Nasty.
recycle bin you go.
Yeah, but I mean, what,
Tasmanian
what
devil.
are people doing with their stems anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah, no. I mean, that's
One of
the
those-
aim now, is to grow hollow stems. Total reuse
Make
of
it
the
I had
past.
to, I had to
Yeah.
hollow it out, but yeah. Or
Yeah.
like the other day, I had one that's about 3 or 4 times the thickness of my thumb. So I gave it to my dog as a chew toy, and sure enough, he got his teeth right in there. He was cleaning his teeth. He got his teeth, like he was chewing off pieces of it, spitting them out. And I supervised him the whole time, but he was using it as a little cleaning toy and getting his teeth clean.
No, no.
So I mean, there's uses for him.
Well, on that note, we draw towards the end of the hour. You got there, Chris.
Just a little Death Valley SFV extract.
That's
I'm gonna try to roll it on
the
my
San
joint.
Fernando Valley,
San Fernando Valley, yeah.
San
it's-
Fernando Valley. Yeah.
Okay, now
I'm
I
sorry to
remember
pick up on
if
all
I
these
learned
different.
correctly, that's an OG, but it's just one of many OGs, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those prominent cuts that when you rip it out of the population, you certainly go, oh, there's a lot of shit that doesn't exist all of a sudden. Yeah. I still think the whole thing is that, yeah, we're not increasing the diversity of the plant out there. We're reducing the diversity unless we all start not following the trend. But anyway, on that note, we draw to the end. You're welcome to join us in the after show, but going around the table then, where can everybody find you, Ganja?
Cheers, Pete. Cheers, everybody. Yeah, Neighborhood Grow Show. Check out Grow 4 Show. Yeah, and here. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining us. And Shrubi, where can we find you, guys?
Grow for Show Tuesdays, Neighborhood Grows on Mondays every now and then, and Saturdays I try and make it here.
And also, I guess, on Instagram and elsewhere. Discord. Hey. Raptor, where can we find you, buddy?
I'm Raptor Grow. You can find me on Instagram, Raptor Grow, and on YouTube here. Mondays, Neighborhood Grow Show, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, I've been trying to make it more in chat. So if you've been seeing me, yeah, talk to me. Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah.
Cool.
Good one, everyone.
And GMF, buddy, where can we find you?
Usually in the kitchen or in the garden, cooking or fermenting something or growing something. So if I can be helpful, holler at me on IG. I'll be on the neighborhood on Mondays. I like to always try to stop in the Grow 4 on Tuesdays, which, you know, especially cool. It's a bunch of Canadians. I always like hearing their take on stuff. It's always interesting. So go Canada, America's warm fuzzy hat. And thank you,
Yeah, if you're
Pete,
looking at-
for making a place here for us to hang out and get our brains pumpy.
All good, man. All good. And you can find me at PL Grow Systems on Instagram, also at Operation Grow 2019. We don't have any minor units at the moment. I'm waiting on some components to come through, so I'm hoping to get some up on the site again by end of January, hopefully, if everything turns up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
If
sorry,
you're
Chris.
interested in cuts, join the after show.
Yep, absolutely. If
Please.
you're interested in that, do jump in
You're interested in
and
cuts.
become part of the conversation. Anyway, on that note, I shall catch you all later. Stay safe, everybody.